Hello, everyone. This is Independent Conservative. Thank you all for joining me. So, Vice President Kamala Harris, in supposedly her toughest remarks on the immigration policy, went to Arizona to give this speech about how she's going to, fix the border and create a tougher, whatever, border law, whatever. Trump's response to this is that if she gets in office, and I'm paraphrasing his words, because I'm going to read to you what he actually said in the article that has a transcript of it. What he said is that if she's allowed in, every city, if she's allowed to be elected, and she gets elected, every city in this country will become like a third world hellhole. Now, before I get into this article, let me say up front, this is a left-leaning article, so it will favor the left. Yes, I read from the left as well, because it's good to read from both the left and the right, because I want to know what the left has to say and what they're leaving out and what they're adding. And when I read this article, I knew right away, I was like, oh yeah, I already got an answer for what they're saying right here. So let's get right into it. Let's get right into this article. And it's crazy because, of course, it's going to favor Kamala Harris, right? On Friday, Vice President, Democrat presidential nominee Kamala Harris stopped by Arizona and gave one of her toughest remarks on immigration yet. Depend on Kamala Harris. She got your back, American citizens. Vowing to keep in place Biden's executive order limiting asylum and, quote, keep the border closed. Bullcrap. The speech continued a pattern for Harris as she has been increasingly toughening her position on immigration. How can anyone believe this? How can anyone believe that she's sincere? All right. Even shifting her stances on issues like the border wall. The strategy is meant to put a dent on an issue which many believe to be Trump's path to a victory come November, an issue which recent studies have shown to be essential for voters. On Saturday, however, Trump lashed back in a Wisconsin rally, intensifying his rhetoric on immigration once again by claiming that Harris's policies during the Biden administration are affecting the very core of the American values. Come on, here, this article this thing keeps making up here. Okay. And apparently this is what he said. You got to get those people back where they came from. You have no choice. You're going to lose your culture. You're going to lose your country. You're going to have crime, the likes of which nobody has ever seen before. Now, let me just say right up front here with this little excerpt they said here. I'm going to say this right up front to anyone that is watching this video that's liberal. Trump is not necessarily referring to people who come here illegally, okay, and get a job or whatever. And, he's not necessarily referring to all people who cross over here illegally. He's referring to people, for the most part, okay, who are criminals, were criminals in their own native land and illegally crossed over here. You have some people that have come here illegally that are not troublemakers. Now, by definition, by them coming over here illegally, that makes them a criminal, okay, by definition. Let's quit playing games, okay? But a significant number of these people that cross over illegally may not become criminals. They're not going to become criminals. They may get some little side job somewhere and get a slave wage job somewhere where some company or business is willing to hire them and pay them slave wages. That's what a lot of these businesses are doing right now, okay? For the most part, that's what they're going to do. But Trump is mostly talking about the murderers and the rapists and the people that were criminals in their native land and is illegally crossing over here. These are the people he's talking about. So let's be realistic, okay? But according to it says, the article goes to say, he then went on to use Whitewater, Wisconsin as an example of, quote, a small, very beautiful town that has been, quote, flooded by migrants, adding, if Kamala is reelected, your town and every town just like it, all across Wisconsin and all across our country, the heartland, the coast, it doesn't matter, will be transformed into a third world hellhole. Trump also went on to describe Harris as, quote, mentally disabled. She is, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not just saying it because she's liberal. I'm saying it because she's mentally unstable. Okay, she contradicts herself. She creates these word salads. She seems to not be able to give a good answer to questions that I asked that kept her off guard. And so she's not prepared, and she has to be mentally disabled because you're a politician. You've been in office for 3.5 years as vice president. You should be preparing yourself. You should be gaining knowledge and understanding. She doesn't have sense enough to hadn't had sense enough to do that. So in a sense, she is mentally disabled. But then again, that's Trump. You know how Trump is. But anyway, and claimed that the Biden administration's policies represented a betrayal of the nation. He warned that the U.S. would be overrun by violent criminals and, quote, terrorists if current border policies continue, emphasizing that the country was at risk of losing its identity and suggesting mass deportations are the solution. I have to admit, I know that's an extreme case right there, but to a degree, I understand what he's saying. Okay. The article goes on. In a statement to Politico, Trump campaign National Press Secretary Caroline Levick doubled down on the candidate's claims. Quote, Kamala has allowed more than 20 million criminals into the country because everyone who illegally crosses the border and breaks our nation's laws is by definition a criminal. And that's what I talked about earlier, okay? But let's be realistic. A lot of these people that come over here illegally may not become, they're by definition criminals because they've come over illegally, but they might not be troublemakers per se, like the crazy people who were criminals in their native land, okay? But anyway, Kamala wants to give mass amnesty to rapists, murderers, and other violent illegal monsters. So this may be what this individual is talking about here, okay? President Trump will begin the largest mass deportation in history on day one. Despite the former president's portrayal of migrant crime as a key issue in the 2024 election, which have been amplified by his vice president, studies indicate that migrants are not more likely to commit crimes than U.S.-born citizens. Let's see what they're saying here. A 2023 study by researchers at Stanford, Princeton, and other institutions found that since 1880, immigrants have not been more likely to be in prison than U.S.-born citizens. Of course not. The problem isn't immigration, you dumbo. The problem is with the criminal element. Of course, these people are so dumb. This is so simple. It says, found that since 1880, immigrants have not been more likely to be in prison than U.S.-born citizens because it's immigrants who actually more than likely lawfully migrated over here and are not criminals. They weren't criminals in their native land, and they came over here to live a better life. So could that be the reason why they're not more likely to be in prison more than the U.S.-born citizens? That's not a good argument right there. But anyway, additionally, researchers found that as immigration has increased, crime rates have decreased in recent years. In other words, they're saying, they're almost like they're trying to say that those on the right or people like Trump and so forth is saying that we got to get rid of immigration. The problem isn't with immigration. That's not the issue. The problem is with illegal migration and the criminal element involved in the immigration, not immigration by itself, okay? So that's not the issue. The issue isn't immigration. The issue is illegal migrants rather, and the crime element from countries that house these criminals. That's the issue. What was mentioned was rapists and murderers and terrorists and all the rest. That's what we have to be concerned for, and that's what Trump is talking about. So this article here, I picked that up right off the bat. They're omitting stuff, and that's what the left tends to do. They'll tell you something and say, well, statistics say this and that and the other, but they will omit other factual data that explains the reasons behind all of that. See, I'm all about details. I'm not just about a bunch of yipping and yakking and talking. I'm about details. And details are more important than anything else. You want to get all the facts, okay? So the problem here is not immigration per se. Okay, so going back to 1880 in terms of immigration until now, that immigrants from 1880 all the way to now are not more likely to be in prison than U.S.-born citizens. It's not a good argument because we're talking about the criminal element. That's what we're talking about. That's what Trump is talking about, the criminal element. And you're going to have that, period. It's the criminals you need to get rid of. So, yeah, it is what it is. And this article here is fabricated, or I wouldn't say fabricated, but I don't want to be too extreme, but omitting key important elements, okay? And is Trump's prediction going to happen? I don't know. I don't know. But he predicted that, what's his name, the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, would be indicted within a year because of his attacks on the migrants in his city. That he spoke out against that, and Trump said he's going to be indicted within a year. Bam, it happened. He predicted it, it happened. I think a couple of other predictions Trump gave, it happened. I can't remember, but it happened. So is this going to happen? Who knows? We got to sit around. We're going to have to wait. But that's my concern. I will say this. If I said this before and I'll say it again, and I'm going to keep saying it until people get it. And I know most of you here probably get it, okay? If Kamala Harris and Walz wins, that border is not going to be taken care of. And we're going to have the criminal element involved in the immigration. We're going to have the criminal element infect every city in the country. Okay? You're going to have 4 years. So it can easily happen. It can easily happen. And who's to say that these individuals, these illegals, are not going to be bussed or brought to certain cities on purpose? I really believe that that's what, I can't prove it, but in my gut, I have that feeling that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen, okay? Right now, we're having some issues in the city of Cleveland with these groups of dozens of people in motorcycles and cars taking over streets, wearing masks and taking over certain sections of the streets and doing wheelies and stuff and shooting. They got guns. But no one in the city of Cleveland, the law enforcement, nobody knows who it is. Nobody knows what's going on. So the mayor, who's a progressive liberal Democrat, okay, wants to had a meeting with law enforcement and the Department of Health and Safety, whatever, to see what can be done. Something should have already been done. But of course, liberals, they soft on crime, they're not going to do anything. And but why am I mentioning it? I'm mentioning this situation here because I speculate in my heart that this is this could be a terrorist group that's waiting for November. I'm just saying, I hope I'm wrong, but my gut is telling me that this is what this is. This is what and they could be illegals. They could be illegal. They could be gang members from Venezuela or whatever. We don't know who these people are because according to witnesses, they're wearing masks and they have guns. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. Maybe perhaps Trump's prediction might come true. I'll say this, that we will see an increase in illegals in every city in this country for the 4 years that Harris and Walz is in office. We're going to see an increase of that, in my opinion. I hope I'm wrong too. I hope Trump is wrong, but I don't think so. That's what I had to say about that. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all. See you again.